Short like enemies. Inside Nepal's Gen Z uprising. BBC World Service Documentaries. Why does the thumbnail have the One Piece flag? What? They used the flag to protest against the government. I guess that makes sense, but it's the world government that was evil. The world government was evil. But I know it's funny because you go, I think it was like, oh crap, what was it? Shoot, I forgot what nation was flying it. I know they were flying it in Mexico. They were flying, like most regimes, when there's like a regime change or the people get unhappy, they start flying the flags from One Piece. Yeah. Indonesia, yes, Indonesia. That was like, oh my gosh, it's one of those, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Nepal, yeah. They keep flying the Straw Hats flag.
Nepal, September 8th, 2025. On the streets of Kathmandu, Gen Z protesters call for change and are met with tear gas and live fire. Over the next few hours, 19 young Nepalis, including a teenager wearing school uniform, are shot dead by their own security forces. Anger at these deaths ignites a second day of protest. And this time, it cannot be contained.
I'm confused. Why? You need to sit down and join. You need to sit down and join. My wife is giving me all the information, but then I'm going to end up being quiet for like a minute or 3 minutes, which is not good. You know this is not good on YouTube. And it was just like, you can join me. You can join me. Please, please. Yeah, but it's the same time. It's like what I don't get is like the BBC is British Broadcasting Company. Correct? Correct? So why the heck? Yeah, but why the heck are they showing this when they refuse to show what's going on in their own nation? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. It just reminds me of that verse where Jesus is basically talking to the why would you focus on the speck in someone else's eye when you got a plank in your own? Because you have your own problems. Why are you focusing on another nation? Yes, things need to go out and be noticed by the world. Like the world should know and not have a say, but at least be aware of what's happening in other nations. It's good for nations to be aware and be like, oh, these people seem unhappy. These people seem unhappy. But it's just like, especially when students are losing their lives.
Drawing on more than 4,000 videos filmed on the streets, testimony from police and protesters, and an exclusive leaked record of police radio, BBCI pieces together a forensic account of the most dramatic 2 days in Nepal's recent history. We revealed how Nepali authorities lost control of this protest, who gave the order to open fire, and asked how Nepal's police, army, and politicians failed a generation desperate for change.
Oh my gosh, that's just crazy. And some tried in India, but here Gen Z is of different groups and know more about geopolitics and national politics. Again, just give it 5 to 10 years. Just give it 5 to 10 years. It'll swing the other direction. You'll have far more. Yeah, it'll swing the other direction. They only did one thing, destroying Nepal.
Hours of rage and bloodshed lay years of quiet frustration. Nepal abolished its monarchy in 2008 after a decade-long civil war. In 2015, a new constitution promised a fresh start. But 10 years on, that promise has not yet been realized. around 1 in 5 young Nepalis are unemployed. For millions, migration is the only option. The country remains mired in debt and economic dependence. On the face of things, government shifts between the 3 main political parties. But for many young Nepalis, the same group of elderly politicians cling to power year after year.
I like, that's the thing. It's just like, I think back to like how the U.S. was founded. It was like 50 people sat down, all of different beliefs, different understandings, like different kind of feelings on what the U.S. should be, sat down and wrote the Constitution. It's by the people, for the people. It should be run by the people. Eventually, it did get corrupt, and now we have politicians who have been in politics their entire life and were born into politics. That shouldn't be allowed. It shouldn't be a monarchy. We've got away from that. We're supposed to be a democracy where we elect our officials in, but that's not the case in the U.S. That is no longer the case in the U.S. But the thing is, it had the longevity to last for a long period of time because it was always for the nation. The nation always had the ability to grow, and you could do amendments on top of things, and it's just like all that stuff was included in the original Constitution. Like in the preamble, you know, the heart and soul. Like even of like again, India's preamble is more of a joke because not everyone is equal when you have 2 different codes. Of course, they're trying to have one general civil code for the entire nation, but that remains to stick. But at the same time, it's just like you want something like that. You want everyone to be seen as like the people need to have the voice. It shouldn't be in the hands of the politicians. The problem is the world is so small now, and a lot of people can only see immediate gain. They can't see the future. People can no longer have the ability to see the future, because the thing is, a lot of people have the narcissistic mindset where it's just like, oh, it's me, my world, I'm the number one now, instead of thinking that like in 100 years isn't that far off. Let's just be honest. 100 years isn't that far off. No one will know who I am. No one will remember me except for, well, my children. That's it. And my grandchildren. After that, most likely my great-grandchildren wouldn't even know me. But that's the thing. You have to think about it that way. How can you plan a future for your nation that can go live beyond you? And a lot of politicians don't have that mindset to create a foundation that lives beyond them because they want to be the benchmark of the nation. Look at India. Gandhi wanted to primarily be the benchmark of the nation, which is why Gandhi's party was in power for so long, because he wanted to be the benchmark of the nation. When finally it could step away, it has the ability to grow and find out what it is as a nation, as a whole. But the thing is, it was trapped in that ideology of it's going to live as long as the father of the nation will live. And as long as its party remains in power, it will live. That weird, strange mindset. If all citizens are aware of the current real world politics and how things happen, then destabilization and nation is hard. That they couldn't succeed during Sahin. I'm gonna try to get during Sahin. I lost where I was at. Bagh riots and all other attempts. Farmers' protests was same thing. I'm a Gen Z, and millions of Gen Z like me are I don't know how to say that, of RSS. We will never let any destabilization. Good. The nation should be strong, and the nation should prioritize the people. It should prioritize the people.
26-year-old Rakshaban is one of the many Gen Z students who feel democracy has fallen short.
नेपाली जनताको बलिदान, उनीहरूको सङ्घर्षको उपलब्धि र भविष्य आज एउटा व्यक्तिको अहंकार र कुशासनको बन्धनमा छ। वर्षौँदेखिको हामीले जुन अनुहारहरू रिपिटेडली हेरिरहेका थियौँ ती अनुहारहरूले हामीप्रति गरेको जुन व्यवहार थियो त्यसप्रति हामी एकदमै आजित भइसकेका थियौँ कि हाम्रो पुस्ता भनौँ न अझै किनभने उहाँहरूले सडकमा के भइरहेको छ सडकको आवाज के हो भनेर बुझ्नै खोज्नु भएन कहिले पनि
What I say, because they want to be politicians. Yeah. Isn't it? What is it? No. Nepali. It's called Nepali. Yeah, because it's got similar. It's similar. Not tones, but not cadence. It's from the same kind of dialect. But it's the thing is, like, you have to plan for the future. I guess the excuse you could have, like in the U.S.'s terms, is like they were 20-year-olds. The only old person who was working on the Constitution was Benjamin Franklin, who was like in his 50s. He only had a few years left to live. But the young generation were planning it for their future and their children's future and their children's children's. That's the thing. You have to think that far ahead. You have to. You can't think of like, I'm in my 60s. I have probably 10 to 20 years left to live. How far can I stretch my governance of this nation? It's like, what the heck? What the heck? But Levi, just do a live long as a... Just do what? But Levi, just to live long as a nation, don't meaning destabilization of other growing nations. True. Boomers destroyed Nepal. Yep.
नेपो बेबीवाला जुन ट्रेन्ड चलिरहेको थियो संसारभरि नै त्यो नेपाल पनि आयो हाम्रो नेताहरूको जीवनशैली उहाँहरूको छोराछोरीको जीवनशैली र हामी आम जनताको जीवनशैलीमा चाहिँ यत्रो ठुलो असमानता रहेछ
We wake up, work hard, pay taxes, but those in power, they keep on stealing.
त्यो भइसकेपछि
Politics is the same everywhere.
अनुसार चल्छ नि त विभिन्न नेताहरूको छोराछोरी अथवा नेताहरू एक्सपोज हुँदै थिए
It is time we call out these people and make these people feel accountable for their choices.
That message struck a chord with millions of young people, like 17-year-old Shriyam Chaulagai, known as Bunku to the family, who joined the debate on social media. He often took his parents, Ganesh Chaulagai and Ganga Kaki, by surprise.
म यसो कुरा घरमा गर्थेँ नि आज यस्तो भयो उस्तो भयो के बाबा कुरा गर्नुहुन्छ यस्तो कुराहरू हैन यस्तो कुरो नगर्नु यिनीहरू सबै फडा हुन् फडा खाइसके देश सकिसक्यो भन्ने खालको कुरो चाहिँ गर्थे उले हरेक न्यूज हेर्दो रहेछ के उले
That's the thing. Is like it's going to take. So the old guard has been in position, and you can look at the old guard as like the politicians who have been in power since since the boomer age. They've been in power for like 60, 70 years. Like in the U.S., that's normally the case. The majority of politicians have been there for like at least 40 years, at bare minimum. And then you just have a bunch of idiot kids getting in. And then you have to look at like the media industry. That stuff has got to be completely destroyed and dismantled. It has to start with people jumping on a platform and speaking their mind. Even if other people don't agree, the thing is, people's voices need to be heard. People's voices need to show that they can gain traction, and it needs to reach, like, even the world. The world needs to hear what's going on. That's the only way to do it, because you'll never get the truth from the news. You'll never get the truth from the politicians. You'll never get it's the people who are working day in, day out, and go live. I'm trying to plug myself in here. Go live after work, just trying to speak my mind on what's going on, because those people who are trying to speak out end up thinking that, the America's all these delusional people. We are, let's be honest, we are delusional people, but what we want is just our nation to close its borders, our nation to have different reformed immigration policies, to streamline it, so that way I didn't have to wait years just to hold my wife coming home from work. There's just so many things that need to change. There are so many things that need to change, but it takes people going on a platform and going live and actually speaking their true, honest feelings. The thing is, a lot of people agree with just what a random person says, but a lot of people are afraid to get their head out there because they're going to get targeted. Like for me, eventually there will be someone on the Crazy X platform who finds my video and then just starts calling me massive slurs, and then I'll just start getting downvoted on everything I've done. That's just how it works. But I know that's going to happen. And then they'll start insulting my wife, which will piss me off because that's my wife. I love her. Yeah, you'll get a knife and you'll hunt them down. My wife is good at discovering things. She's definitely not a raw agent. Definitely not. But she found out who I was before I found out who she was. That's let's just say that. Let's just say that. But the thing is, a lot of parents would be afraid of them going public because they're putting their life at risk. They are putting their life at risk. Like, it's funny because, like, I know in Asmongold, in, like, his recent videos when he's doing, like, the Epstein files, a lot of the times in the comments, it was just like, remember, Asmongold is not suicidal in the description. Why? Because, well, there's a fear that he's speaking out about the corrupt politicians. We need to start throwing these people in prison. And then, well, what if he just disappears? Like a lot of people. What if he just disappears? You have a loud voice that's just automatically silenced. That's just how it works. That's just how it works. So it's a fear. It's a fear. Far more informed, of course.
On the 4th of September, alarmed by the scale of dissent voiced online, the government took a drastic decision.
Now, news from Nepal, the country has cracked down on a number of social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, LinkedIn.
Last night, poof, the platform, it's all gone.
Online, this conversation was blazing.
We have so many problems in Nepal, but they think, yeah, let's ban social media. Yeah, that's going to fix the country. Yeah, why are these idiots running the country?
Doesn't that seem like a coincidence? It feels kind of shady. Like the platform that people use.
See, that's the thing. Like, if the U.S. ever banned its information platform, like immediately you see people's voices get silenced, that's when you worry. That's when you worry. Right now, we still have the freedom to speak because in Europe or in Britain, people get arrested for making jokes. But yeah, you have to, I feel like I still have the ability to speak my mind and say what I want to say. We should always have the ability. Always have the ability. The people should always have a voice. It should never, ever be silenced.
To criticize the rich spoiled kids just got banned right when it was starting to trend.
But in the halls of power, Nepal's political establishment was in a state of denial. Even as the speeches went on, the ground was shifting. Despite the government ban, Gen Z found other platforms like Discord and TikTok to share hashtags and memes, channeling their anger over corruption and poor governance.
Sri Lanka did it, Indonesia did it. Of course, we are Nepali, we are Gorkhalis, we also can do it, guys. Let's raise our voice together.
Within
I understood
days,
the last
plans
sentence.
for a nationwide protest were circulating. A Discord server, Youths Against Corruption, emerged as the central hub for coordination and discussion. Organizers agree on a meeting point, 9 a.m., Maitigar Mandala in central Kathmandu. The next morning, Raksha is on the front line.
Yeah, straw hat.
At around 10:30, the crowd moves forward along Madan Bhandari Road. Government intelligence had predicted 3,000 protesters, but tens of thousands turn out. Many are wearing school uniform, believing it might offer a kind of protection.
Sure.
The protesters are heading for Nepal's parliament. But before they get there, they hit a barricade. Some 200 police are now face to face with thousands of protesters. And the mood starts to turn. At At 11:47, a group of demonstrators finds a way around the cordon.
They came the other direction. They pushed the
police,
officers away.
taken by surprise, abandoned the barricade.
No violence. I didn't see any violence with that.
And the crowd surged
chasing them
towards
off.
Parliament.
It's an ant farm.
The organizers had called for a peaceful protest. But already, this was getting out of hand. The tragedy that followed was captured in more than 4,000 videos and pictures taken by journalists, bystanders, and protesters. We spent months collecting and analyzing this evidence, as well as sourcing exclusive accounts from police. We can now bring you the most detailed account yet of exactly what happened on September 8th at the gates of Nepal's parliament. At 11:58, protesters face off against armed police. Most of the crowd is peaceful, but at the front line, tensions spill into violence.
Yeah.
Some protesters climb onto the roof above the entrance gate to Parliament. At 12:15, one group breaches the wall.
Nepal was just a war ground for China funded by government and US funded student protests. That's the thing. It's like the battles of the world powers will always be fought here in the smaller nations. That's the sad part. That's the sad part, because in order to prove their power, they need to show their strength. They'll go against the other party when they have an issue. It's like, oh, do they have their hand in this government right here? Well, let's destabilize it by supporting the opposite faction. In some cases, do the opposite factions actually need representation? Sure, but at the same time, it helps give them more of a voice to destabilize the entire thing.
They're quickly pushed back by police. On Discord, some protesters start to worry. In the crowd, we spot Shriyam. He's here against his mother's wishes.
जान्छु भनेर अघिल्लो दिन उले भनेको थियो, भन्न चाहिँ नभनेको होइन, किन जानु पर्यो यस्तोमा के हुन्छ पर्दैन जान भन्यो भने अनि अब हामी जेन्जी केटाकेटीको ड्रेसमा जान्छौँ, हामी माइनरलाई कसैले हात पनि लाउँदैन.
He's holding a banner that reads, Youths Against Corruption.
The worst thing was India stayed silent instead of interference. What would India do? Like, what would India do? India's not going to get involved in a scrimmage war in another nation which involves China and America. India's not going to get involved with that. The only thing they could do is send like aid after the fact to show like the like medical support and things like that after the fact. India can't get involved between two world powers, not yet anyway. And then eventually it'll turn into a three-way war. Right now, it's best for India to just stay out of all these issues that China, Russia, and America are having with each other. Stay out, develop its power, become a world power, and then it can get involved in all of this. And India does have a hand in a lot of stuff, but they just can't utilize it the same way because their raw agent aren't as far as like the way that China's operates, the way Russia's operates, and the way the US's operates. Sure, they have the intelligence, but they don't have the capability to execute it quite yet. Give it a few years, and India will be a player.
But not everyone is as peaceful.
Yep.
At 12:30, a curfew is declared. The gathering is now illegal. Word spreads from phone to phone. But the curfew seems to make things worse. Police fired tear gas and rubber bullets. But their response is chaotic. Some even throw stones back at protesters. Seeing the gatehouse on fire, panicked officers radio for help, asking their superiors for permission to use live ammunition. We know this because the BBC has obtained a leak of the police radio log that day. This document has never been made public. It reveals that it's now at 12:40.
That's the thing, because it was funny. He kept saying Nepal, and I'm like, why is it Nepal when they have Hindi on their police vehicles? Because that's a where's the character? See it like right here, the Shah De, right? Sunset. Sasa. Oh, it's Sasa. It's not S-H-A? Sasa? S-A? Sa? Okay. Sasa de? Because that's a D, right? Duh. Sasa de. See, I've been learning, but this is Hindi. This is Hindi text. How is it Napoleon? How is it Napoleon? This is Hindi text. I've been learning.
That the authorization to use force is given. That order marked a turning point. Over the next 2 hours, at least 6 protesters will be shot, 5 of them fatally. We're going to slow down here and show you the details of those shootings. The first takes place at the corner of the parliamentary complex. The victim is 34-year-old Binod Maharjan. We found no video of the shooting, but at 1:15, we see Binod carried away with a critical injury to the head. He dies later at hospital. On Discord, news of live fire spreads quickly. And on the streets, anger escalates to fury. The police are overwhelmed. One group is...
Yes, most Nepal are of anti-India sentiment. They think we enter in their international politics. Yes, that's because China and America have made them believe such. Because no matter what, it's trying to keep India out of the playing field for as long as possible. That's just it. India should keep its head down and go to the gym, get big and strong, so they're as big as their other bullies. That's just how it goes. The nerd keeps their head down, starts pumping iron, and taking a ton of steroids till they're as big as the other bullies. That's just how it works. That's just how it works. And then the other bullies will be like, you know what? You can be our friend. No, you can be our friend. No, you can be our friend. That's just how it works. Nations are nothing but kids on a playground. It's just that simple. That simple. And every time there's a new politician in charge, like in the US, it's like a new grade starting, and the kid always tries to reinvent themselves to be something else. Every time. Every time.
Cornered outside the gates. At 1:42, our police timeline records the panic among officers.
Police bleeding profusely and about to be killed. Shooting at main gate may be necessary.
The assault lasts for 4 minutes.
But wasn't burning the politician's house in retaliation to this? Yeah. I think that was after this, because I remember that. I remember hearing that, and it was just like, that's disgusting. But the thing is, it's like when emotion gets, that's why emotion has no place. Like, it's good to have some emotion, but you can't have it dictate your actions. You absolutely cannot. Emotion, like, that's why men have, like, generally speaking, like, statistically speaking, men pair up with a woman because men, we lack, most of us lack, like, that real strong emotional cord. Not all of us, most of us. And women have that strength that we don't have. Just like we have, I don't want to be, but again, statistically, men have more of a logistical understanding and logical basis in things, that they can be less emotional in a situation and be more analytical towards it, no matter what the situation is. They don't need to worry about, our son committed a crime, normally, statistically, it's the mothers that are like, no, he's a good boy. He's a good boy. And then the father's like, well, when he was a kid, he did this. He's not a good child. That's just how it works. We are supposed to pair up to balance each other out. But emotions do run hot and get heated, especially when it comes to like the death of innocence. So what did they do? Caused another innocent to die. It wasn't the politician's wife that was responsible. It probably wasn't even the politician himself. Odds are a lot of politicians, but a lot of politicians are puppets. Like India's had puppet leaders. The U.S. obviously have had puppet leaders. I mean, just look at the last presidency. Every nation has had puppet leaders. It's never them. It's always the one who dictate the actual, like right now, people can get mad at Trump because he's literally dictating everything that happens. Before, last term, it was all the Democratic policies. The Biden literally had no ideas for himself. He didn't even know where nations were. Apparently, Putin's the president of Ukraine. I mean, he wants to be.
Eventually, they used tear gas to drive back the crowd and retreat into the grounds of Parliament.
Guys, look.
Making TikToks while your Supreme Court is burning is not a good look. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
The next order to come through police radio is unambiguous.
Open fire to establish safety. Regain control of situation.
The next person to be shot is 27-year-old Kamal Gimire. At 1:48, we find him on the opposite side of the avenue. This is the view from Kamal's own phone.
Administrative level puppets, absolutely.
Officers, at least 2 of whom are armed with handguns. Kamal then walks away from the front lines. His camera captures this man throwing a stone at police. And then Kamal falls. We have found another view of this incident. Here is Kamal, the man throwing the stone, and the moment Kamal is shot. His medical report states that the bullet entered beneath his left arm and exited through his back. We do not know the precise trajectory, but we can see the general direction from which this bullet was fired. And it points toward the same group of police Kamal Gimire had filmed just moments before. The bullet missed Kamal's spine by millimeters.
Oh, he survived. That's good. I was worried he was going to die. Soviets had India as a playground for their propaganda for 70s to late 90s. Yeah, that's the thing. It's just like India's been the playground, and India realized eventually that it got out of it and kept its head down. You just got to keep your head down, pump the iron. And then eventually you'll get to a year to where you can be a bully as well. You don't have to be a bully, but in most cases, everyone just ends up becoming a bully.
He survived. At almost the same moment, 200 meters to the west, another young man is shot. This is 22-year-old Rashik Khatiola earlier in the day. His t-shirt says, "We want leaders, not looters."
Sounds about right.
Exactly when Rashik is shot or from where.
We want leaders, not predators. Heck, we need to round up all those people on the files. They need to do a proper investigation. But the thing is, just like, all of them have been there for far too long. They've been career politicians, a lot of those who are politicians. Get them out. They don't belong. We can elect new people who aren't in some child predators files. That's just what we should do. They've been in politics. They've racked up millions of dollars. We need to get rid of them. We need to get rid of them and just start fresh.
But at 1:53, a protester's phone captured these images of Rashik being carried away with a bullet wound to his chest. He died of this injury. He was 22. By this time, accounts on Discord are urging demonstrators to leave. But 24-year-old Sulavraj Shrestha stays at the parliament gates. He's carrying a sign that says, "No more corruption." We see him here, wearing the blue backpack, observing the confrontation at the gate. Seconds later, just a few steps away, Sulov is dead. Realizing that he could not be saved, protesters carry Sulov to the gates. They lay his body on the road, directly in front of police,
That's
and cover it in Nepal.
I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I guess they knew he was dead. Which like, oh, we could use him as a prop. I don't know. I don't like that. Yeah. Again, like one of the most powerful moments, and this actually happened, and they did it in the film. That was a fake story based on true events. It was the Patriots Day, and it's about the Boston bombing during the marathon. And there were 2 kids which were blown up in the explosion, and they had an officer standing over, and the officer actually had to do it. And that scene is so freaking powerful because it's just, imagine being that officer, having to stand guard over those 2 dead children for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. That would destroy anyone. Just like near the end, you see of the film, you see him like breaking up in tears because he just couldn't handle it anymore. He couldn't handle it anymore. It was crazy. It was crazy. Great movie. Great movie. Oh, just remember that scene. It's just, oh, that's bad. It's bad.
Nepal's flag. Among those who witnessed the shooting was 17-year-old Shriyam Cholagai, the boy in school uniform. Minutes later, closer to the junction, we catch Shriyam again. Ahead of him, a group of protesters is pelting the police with stones. Shriyam turns away from the violence and moves back towards the junction. These are the last steps he takes. Moments later, another phone captures images which go viral across Nepal. Bleeding heavily from a gunshot wound to the back of the head, Shriyam is carried across the road. Bystanders lift him into an ambulance, but it's too late. By the time he arrives at the National Trauma Center, Shriyam is dead. He's the youngest victim shot outside Nepal's parliament on September 8th. Nepal's Gen Z protesters have always maintained that Binod, Rashik and Shriyam were killed by police, but none of those shootings was captured on camera. The next person to be killed, Yogendra Nupani, is shot just a few steps away. And this time, we have the clearest evidence yet that, as Yogendra fell, shots were being fired from inside the grounds of Parliament. Just 90 seconds before the shooting, vlogger Nished Dahal turned his camera towards the grounds of Parliament. Pay attention to this group of police officers. At exactly 2:21, they move towards the wall, separating Parliament from the street.
See, that's why even in the U.S. they have like they don't use live rounds. They'll use rubber bullets or beanbag guns or just gas grenades or things like tear gas, all that kind of stuff to disperse crowds. It's one of the best ways. I mean, still, like getting hit in the head with like a rubber bullet can cause a concussion. It can be fatal, but you can disable someone with a rubber bullet. You can give them a massive bruise or things like that if you shoot them in the leg, and it can not cripple them completely, but you can break a limb. Those things are strong and heavy, but it's just like there are things that are there for like there's a thing called riot gear, which is used to not hurt the people, but it's supposed to silence the crowds when they get too chaotic. They get way too chaotic, because you can't have your officers taking a citizen's life. And that's the thing. It's just like I see this happening here, and just like there are a bunch of students trying to have their nation be free, and then I look at like what happened in Minnesota, where you had Renee Good literally driving away from a police officer when all you had to do was just listen. All these kids had to do was leave when they were told. They had their message. The problem was a few people were escalating it too much that innocent people have passed. If they walked there, stood there, did nothing, but just like maybe shout slurs and weren't throwing rocks or stones or things like that, it probably would have been a different story. It probably would have been a completely different story. But the thing is, there were always those violent agitators in groups. They probably don't mean to be, but they feel they are justified in their actions because they think they're right. They're absolutely right. And instead of ever having their voices heard, they escalate the violence because they feel trapped in that they don't have a voice. They literally doused the whole government building and parliament, yeah, out of revenge for killing students.
Seconds later, we hear 7 gunshots and see Yogendra bleeding to death on the ground. This camera angle does not reveal who shot him. But we found another clip of the same moment, filmed from a few steps further along the pavement. At first glance, there is no more evidence here. But if we zoom in and stabilize the footage, we can clearly see gunshots. "15 seconds later, a third camera captures what appears to be the same group of officers moving towards the corner of the grounds. This is the clearest visual evidence we have found indicating that unarmed protesters were shot dead by Nepali police from inside the grounds of Parliament. Protesters took what cover they could find.
Bushes are not cover.
Yogendra died of his injuries. He was 24. In the footage investigated by the BBC, neither Yogendra nor any of the other victims we have examined was engaged in any violence. According to official figures, 19 young Nepalis were killed in the protests on September 8th. A further 300 were injured. So how did the police come to fire on their own citizens? According to our police sources and the leaked transcript, the order came through police radio from call sign Kilo 1.
हाम्रो केही साथीहरू गम्भीर रूपमा घाइते भए हामी मध्ये एकजनाले उद्धारको लागि भन्यो किलो 1 बाट गोली चलाउने आदेश आयो
Kilo 1 was Bishwa Adhikari, the officer in charge of Nepal police operations in Kathmandu that day. But Kilo 1 was not at the top of the chain of command. The police log reveals the first order to use force came from a more senior officer using the call sign Peter 1.
Curfew already in place. No further need to obtain permission. Deploy necessary force.
Send it here.
Peter 1 was Chandrakubir Kapung, Nepal's most senior officer, the Inspector General of Police. He has denied responsibility. Nepal police told us the decision to use force came from a committee made up of Nepal's main security forces. They said IGP Kapung did not issue the order to use force ahead of the committee's decision to do so. Other police officers have admitted to failures in intelligence, training, and direction. They also blame the army for failing to support them. But most are haunted by what happened.
Yeah. It's funny, like they're saying that it's just like that sounds like the Minnesota, the failure in training, the failure in aid from other law enforcements or from other enforcements. It just like so many things failed to cause such violence, when it should have never been at that point. It should have been de-escalated. It should have absolutely been de-escalated. Politicians abandoned officers? Yeah, of course. Of course. And they're all going to claim like, oh, I didn't give the order. I didn't give the order. Oh, I said this. I said this. Yeah.
Later that day, Shriyam's dad got a call no parent wants to get.
कतैसो त बङ्कुलाई ट्रमामा ल्याएको रहेछ ट्रमामा आउनु पऱ्यो तपाईँ भन्नु एक ठाउँमा अलिकति भिडभाड थियो क्या गेटदेखि अलिकति वरा के को भिडभाड रहेछ भने यसो उठेर हेरेको त नेम लिस्ट टाँसेको रहेछ र 1 नम्बरमा श्रेम चौला गाई भनेर घरमा इन्ट्री हुने बित्तिकै अब वाइफले के सोध्यो भने अनि बिरामी लिएर आउँछु भनेर जानुभएको बङ्कुची खै त तपाईँ एक्लै आउनुभयो त अनि मैले ट्रिटमेन्ट हुँदैछ चोट रहेछ ट्रिटमेन्ट हुँदैछ एक्लै उसलाई किन छोडेर आउनुभएको त ट्रिटमेन्ट भइरहेको बेलामा भनेर भन्ने खालको क्वेसन गर्यो होइन तर म ठगिरहेको छु होइन म कसरी बसेँ होला.
But despite the slaughter, the Prime Minister dug his heels in.
Minnesota is different. Federal government offered help but rejected. No. The federal government was there. It was the state government that refused to send aid. So it was kind of reverse. It was like the National Guard was there, but the troopers, the state police, were refusing to assist the National Guard. So it's kind of like the reverse situation, but it's still kind of the same. The departments are supposed to work together. Like when a federal officer is in a state, they're supposed to get assistance from the state.
Faced with such intransigence, some protesters began to suggest a different approach.
It's funny, because that's what I want to see with New York. I'm not going to do it, though. I'm going to let them do it to themselves. That's the thing. You have to let them do it to themselves. You can't start it. You have to let them do it. Even though they're going to claim the other people did it, even though they do it themselves. I mean, they're the type to touch a stove, burn their hand, and then blame you for their hand being burned because you didn't tell them the stove was going to burn their hand. It's just like, it just seems like common sense.
त्यो रात चाहिँ कहिले बिहान होला र कहिले फेरि यो सरकार विरुद्ध यो यसले उचालेको कदम विरुद्ध फेरि सडकमा जान पाइला भन्ने बिहानको प्रतीक्षामा थिए म.
As dawn breaks, the fury ignites. At first, Nepal's authorities had a plan. Regular police units would contain the crowds, backed by the armed police force, with the army held in reserve. Security forces are deployed in and around the parliamentary complex. By 8:30 a.m., a curfew is imposed. But the crowds do not back down. Again, Raksha is among them. This is the view from her phone as protesters move towards Parliament. By 9, things are getting ugly. Crowds morph into mobs, targeting the police.
Of course. They blame the police for the loss of the
leaders,
citizens.
Government buildings, and even private property belonging to those perceived to be close to power. The violence circulates online in real time. The police are outmanned and overstretched. Officers say the support promised by the armed police force and the Nepal army never arrived. At around 1, the police appear to give up the attempt to control the mob. This video, posted online but quickly deleted, shows police being told to prioritize their own safety. With the police in retreat, chaos reigns.
What I say about New York. You can't have this stuff happen. There has to be a balance. The people need to feel heard. They have to feel heard. And then you can't target the people who are there to protect and serve. Yes, there were a few guards that probably didn't understand what their mission was, and they probably felt afraid for their life. Again, in the situation they're in, they are the outnumbered ones. Sure, they have the firepower, but they look out. If you look at it from the officer's point of view, it's them and probably 10 other police officers in that corner. They look out and they see hundreds, maybe thousands of kids out there throwing rocks, basically being violent. They feel afraid, and they don't have the training. Like they said, they admitted to not fully having the training, which makes sense. They don't have the training to keep their wits about them. They don't. Penguin said no.
Left undefended,
Tomorrow.
falls to the crowd. By 2, it's under their control.
And what does that do for the people?
Within minutes, the building is set ablaze.
Property damage. People are on the roof as it's burning?
Crowds breach the Supreme Court and Singadarbar, the historic compound housing most government ministries. Army helicopters circle overhead, airlifting political leaders from burning homes to safety. By 2:30 that afternoon, the Prime Minister and most senior political figures are under the Army's protection. Senior police officers also take refuge in the military compound. Rank and file officers left on the streets are now targets. Some are stripped off their uniforms and publicly humiliated. One junior officer told us he felt abandoned by his commanders.
कनिष्ठका रूपमा आक्रमणमा परेको बेला हाम्रा वरिष्ठ र नेतृत्वले साथ दिन्छन् भन्ने अपेक्षा थियो तर हामीलाई एक्लै छोडियो आवश्यक कदम चालिएन हामीले आफूलाई अभिभावकविहीन महसुस गर्यौं उनीहरूले आफूलाई त जोगाए तर के गर्ने के भइरहेको छ भन्ने बारे हामीलाई जानकारी समेत दिएन
Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like you can have all the best intentions, but the second you start becoming violent, like that's the thing. I would be all for these people fighting against like illegal immigrations being deported if they just stood on the sidelines and were not violent about it, not confrontational about it, and it's just like, all right, I understand you have a different point of view, but it's when you escalate to the point where people fear for their lives where it becomes an issue. Because now I'm feeling sad for these officers. They had nothing to do with it. They were patrol officers. They probably weren't even stationed there that day. This is a big place. They probably have several police stations, and it's just like they're having to be tossed around. And then some people are saying, oh, it's enough. They've surrendered. It's just like, and then other people are like, no, we need to beat them. We need to beat them. It's like, how can anyone see that and be like, oh, well, I'm definitely on the right side here. When it's like, no, they're doing a job. You can't get mad at someone for doing a job. You get mad at the people who allowed that situation to escalate to a point where 6 students were killed. It's just bad. It's just the whole thing's bad. And it's like their momentum, their what is it? Their standing, like what they're fighting for, loses all potential because they don't have the right mindset to sit and have a discussion. Because imagine what would happen. Those 6 students died, and the next day they did a candlelight vigil. There's a reason why you're just show your strength by being able to see such atrocities. You respect the dead, you feel sorry, and then the rest of the world would have seen that Because the rest of the world, what they see, government buildings burning to the ground. It no longer became about the students that were killed. It became about this mob burning down government buildings. And then there was no movement anymore. Because you no matter what, it's always equivalated with, oh, you're the ones that ruined the nation by burning down government buildings, costing taxpayer dollars, costing inflation, costing more problems in the long run.
Widespread allegations that thugs and infiltrators in the pay of political groups were behind the violence. We can't rule that out, but we found no concrete evidence. Violence spreads beyond Kathmandu, across the country.
All of Kathmandu.
Finally, in the early afternoon, Prime Minister Oli resigns.
एक हिसाबले लाग्यो कि हामीले देश अब हाम्रो भयो हैन हामीले यस्तो अहंकारी यस्तो सरकारलाई घुँडा टेकायौं भन्ने खुसी पनि थियो त्यो बेलामा र एक प्रकारको हामी वेदनामा पनि थियौं हामीले आर्मीलाई रिक्वेस्ट गर्यौं प्लिज है अब यस्तो तपाईहरुले रोकिदिनुस् तपाईले कन्ट्रोल गरिदिनुस् भन्ने खालको यो पीस मेन्टेन गरिदिनुस् भन्ने खालको आग्रह गर्यौं.
But you started the chaos.
Continues through the evening. By nightfall, hundreds of buildings
It's about
are burning.
Nepal. And it's
Banks
riots.
And looted. More than 13,000 prisoners are broken free. 3 police officers killed, and at least 50 more Nepalis are dead. At 9, the army finally steps in.
यस विषम परिस्थितिबाट राष्ट्रलाई शान्तिपूर्ण तवरले निकास दिनको लागि आन्दोलनरत समूहलाई
A successful January 6th.
स्थगन गरी
The army's intervention brought an end to 2 days of chaos and bloodshed. But many Nepalis felt they had left it too late.
नेपाली सेनासँग प्रशस्त सैनिक थिए सर्वसाधारणमाथि गोली चलाउनु पर्ने आवश्यकता थिएन मुख्य सडकहरूमा 100 देखि 150 सैनिक तैनात गरे मात्र पनि पुग्थ्यो यसरी ठूलो राष्ट्रिय क्षति टार्न सकियो तर प्रहरी सबैभन्दा बढी मार सहेर बसेपछि मात्रै उनीहरू श्रेय लिन
No, the kids do not have a governance plan.
On the Discord channel, there were now more than 100,000 people. Just 48 hours earlier, they had been planning a protest. Now, with the government deposed and the country in flames, they were debating Nepal's future.
Why are they debating Nepal's future? They have no say in it anymore.
Sushila Karki, a former Supreme Court Chief Justice, was sworn in after protesters forced her predecessor from office.
The pace imposed by the army held. On September 12, Nepal got its new prime minister, the first woman to run the country. Her task, overseeing fresh elections and an inquiry still ongoing into the events of September 8th and 9th. At the heart of that inquiry is a simple question: who was responsible for the killings that set the country alight? Already, key people in the chain of command are blaming each other. Our sources say the authorization to use force came from Nepal's top police officer, Chandrakuber Kapu, call sign Peter-1. The police in turn say the decision came from the District Security Committee, headed by Chief District Officer Chabilal Rizal. Rizal has denied responsibility. So has the then Home Affairs Minister, Ramesh Lekha.
Politicians.
Even the former Prime Minister, KP Oli, refuses to admit any fault.
अनि जिम्मेवार हुनुपर्छ भने कुन देशमा जिम्मेवार को होस् रङ्गभेदका कारणले घाँटी थिचिएर मर्दा राष्ट्रपति जिम्मेवार हुन्छ कि
While police and politicians pass the buck, the families of those killed are mourning their loved ones. They're in no doubt who is to blame.
सबभन्दा हाम्रो चाहिँ दोषीलाई कारबाही हुनुपर्छ हैन मेरो भनाइ चाहिँ त्यही हो
तपाईले को दोषी देख्नु भएको छ तपाईको नजरमा
3 करोड नेपालीलाई सर्लङ्ग थाहा छ कि दोषी को हो भनेर अहिले नाम हामीले किटान गर्नुपर्ने आवश्यकता पनि छैन अघिल्लो सरकारले मचाएको यो सबै दुर्घटना हो हैन त्यो सरकारमा लिड गर्नेहरु को थिए ती सबै दोषी
यो सपना सबै सपना छुरै भयो उनीहरुको लागि त एउटा विद्यार्थी गयो हाम्रो लागि त एउटा संसारै गयो भित्रै मलाई हुनै आउँदैन क्या मलाई गफ गरिराख्नु मन लाग्छ क्या यहीँ छ भन्छु अनि म उसँग गफ गरिराख्छु कतिखेर आउँछ छिटो आएछ मेरो मनमा त्यही मात्रै घुमिरहेको छ स्कुलको ड्रेसमा मात्रै झस्को आउँछ बिहा बोकेर आइपुग्छ भनेर मैले त छैन भनेर मैले एक्सेप्ट पनि गरेको छु अस्ति एक दिन सपना देखेको थिएँ भगवान्सँग बिटा थापेर मागेको थिएँ यसरी आइजन भन्दै यसो गर्थेँ मागेको थिएँ त्यसरी आएको त हुन्थ्यो
Nepal police said, "We are faced with an overwhelming situation where we had to respond to multiple incidents simultaneously. No senior officers abandoned the juniors and left them to fend for themselves." Yeah, everyone's playing politics. Everyone's playing politics. Like, that's the thing. I worked a job where the thing was everyone tried to push. Oh, it's not my fault. It's this person's fault. It's not my fault. It's this person's fault. It's not my fault. It's this person's fault. And like, I realized like the management always blamed like their subordinates, and then someone on my crew did something wrong. And I took the blame for it because that's what a leader does. They take responsibility for when their crew does something wrong. And then it seems so strange to me. It seems so strange to me that I was treated like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that, and that, and that. I'm like, but isn't that what we're supposed to do? Because my manager was wanting to take responsibility. When I was the supervisor, I wanted to, it's like, it's my team, it's my responsibility to talk to them, it's my responsibility to train them properly, it's my responsibility. But you have to take, the buck stops with you when you're the supervisor. If I do something wrong, it's the manager's fault. That's just how it's supposed to work. But it's so weird how people, even in like workforces, they play politics, wanting to shift blame instead of someone being like, yes, it was my crew. They did something wrong, but it's my fault for lapsing and overseeing that. There's nothing wrong with someone saying, this is my fault. There was a lapse in communication. I regret my policies. I'm going to step down. It was truly a bad incident. Sure, will he be hated by the people? Absolutely. But at the same time, it is the right thing to do. That's why I absolutely hate politicians. Absolutely hate politicians. Pass the buck? Yeah, pass the buck. Puck. I think it's puck. Pass the puck. Because I think it's a hockey term. I think. But yeah, you are literally not wanting to take responsibility. And that's the problem we have. We have politicians in power playing politics. What we need in power are leaders who are willing to take the fall for their people. That's what we need. True leaders, not politicians. We need to get away from these politics and bring in leaders. People who believe in what they say. People who believe in bringing their nation to a better future. People who believe in the people that they're speaking for. We don't need politicians blaming everyone else. We don't. Or even their constituents, blaming their constituents. It was like, oh yeah, they did this, but it wasn't me. Yes, a few people that follow me did this criminal act, but it wasn't. We don't need that. We don't need that. We need leaders. We need leaders. And what's funny, if we actually had leaders in charge of our nations, our nations would be in a much better place. But we don't. We have politicians that pass blame, sell out the nation for the biggest buck they can pocket for themselves. That's just the truth. The Nepal army said, the Nepal army accepted with integrity and purity of intent by objectively I didn't read fast enough, my bad. By objectively assessing a very chaotic, fluid, and uncertain security situation. After the army was deployed, the situation was brought under control within hours. But they didn't join in the beginning. They stayed out of it. I mean, at least they're accepted with integrity and purity of intent by objectively assessing at least they're saying, oh, we did what we thought was best. They're taking some form of responsibility. And they know they didn't do great, but they're taking some form of responsibility. Still waiting for answers, of course. That was good. That was good. I like that. Very enjoyable for BBC, that's for sure. That's for sure. What they didn't cover, I think, is they burned a really high-end hotel and several buildings like car dealerships, etc. They did mention that they burned like a hotel and a few other things that weren't even related in any situation. But they did. They did. But that's the thing. It's just like we need to stop having politicians. Is that so crazy to say now? When did, like, politics has become more of a slur than anything. Like, what's funny is you can say Nazi now, and it means nothing. You can say racist now, and it means nothing. But you can call someone a politician, and it's a curse word. It's like calling someone a lawyer, because it's seen as like, oh, you like to play with words, you like to get out of things. Politician, which we need, are leaders. We need someone who can actually take the blame. Who can take the blame, not be at fault, but take the blame. It's crazy. It's crazy. Oh my gosh. I like that. I like that.
You guys want to video? So bad.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Wait, wait,